Well, that was my interaction with Dr. Obed-Asamoah. But we move on the last leg of the show to talk about Oliver Barker-Vormawor and that situation concerning him. He has made the claim that the food that was fed to him was of very poor quality, based on which yesterday he attempted making a donation of food items to the inmates there. But things didn't exactly go according to plan. Watch this.
A normal Sunday afternoon at the Ashaiman police station. But after an hour, the members of the Fix the Country movement started massing up at the station. Soon, some cars came in and started offloading some food items, toiletries and other stuff meant to be a donation from the embattled convener of the pressure group, Oliver Barker-Vormawor, who until last Thursday was in custody at the Ashaiman police cells. The police, sensing that it might not be possible for the items to be received, warned the group members that the items cannot be unpacked to the police premises. The district police commander therefore asked them to get the items off the station. He said they have taken this decision because the group did not follow the laid-down procedures in donating to the police station. Oliver Barker-Vormawor arrived soon after. His presence drew more people to the venue. After being briefed on what the police had decided to do, he expressed shock at the development.
So then we go home. We have already started soliciting different charities or orphanages that people online think is the best place to send the things. We'll send them there to feed people who are hungry. And if the nature of politics in this country is that even hungry people have to be denied food to make a statement, that's the reality of the country we are living. We can change it, we can do anything. For all my 35 days in there, not once did the police come and offer me food. That this is the food that the state has provided them to give to inmates. I had to wait on family and friends who would come and give me food. So that's the experience of a lot of people who are there. There are some who have gone a year, 2 years, and have never received any family coming to see them. In fact, a lot of them, their family don't know they are in there because the police often deny them the right to call anybody to inform them that they are there. So that's the experience I went through. And I know that there are people in there who are starving. When I was arrested and I was thrown in there, I met people who for 5 days had not eaten. And when I talked about it and complained about it, I was told by the police that the people in there are used to it. So it's inhuman as far as I'm concerned for people to go this number of days without food.
The police, at the time we were leaving the premises, were yet to officially release a statement on the development. For Joy News, Samuel Kojo-Brace, Ashaiman.
So that is exactly what transpired at the Ashaiman police station yesterday. And of course, Oliver Barker-Vormawor has said that no food was offered him. The state feeds these inmates. He says no food was offered to him. And at the point when these donations were made, the talk was that the inmates are used to it. Well, let's get into the statement that the police issued in response to this entire development. And it says, Tema Regional Police Statement on an attempted food donation at Ashaiman Police Station. The attention of the Tema Regional Police Command has been drawn to a story making the rounds on social media in relation to some alleged food donations to suspects in police custody at Ashaiman. Now, the command wishes to state that we got to know from some media platforms that Mr. Oliver Barker-Vormawor, recently out on bail on a charge of treason felony, intended to make a donation of some food at the police station. He was informed through his lawyers that the intended donation was against police standard operating procedure on the feeding of persons in police custody, and he should therefore refrain from such an action. In spite of the notice given him, he showed up at the police station in the company of some other individuals and a musical band with the obvious intention still of making the donation and creating unnecessary drama. Police therefore had no choice but to refuse him the opportunity after loitering at the station for a while amidst noise making and inconveniencing other persons at the station. He and his group finally dispersed. It goes on to state that the claims by Mr. Barker-Vormawor that he donated the food at the station but was later called to come back for them as a result of an order from above is false and should be disregarded. We wish to state that feeding persons in police custody is the responsibility of the government, and it is a responsibility that is discharged according to law and laid down procedures. However, due to our cultural sensitivities and arrangements, families of suspects are usually allowed to provide food to them from time to time. In line with our processes, food items brought to suspects in custody are subjected to stringent safety and security protocols before being accepted and given for consumption. It continues. We wish to further state categorically that the police are held accountable for whatever happens to persons in our custody, and for that reason we take all necessary precautions to ensure their safety. We therefore do not accept food from any sources except families and people nominated by the suspects being held in custody for that purpose. As a command, we are left to wonder what the motives of Mr. Vormawor actually are, since the feeding of suspects in custody is hardly an enterprise he can sustain even for more than a day. We therefore urge the public to disregard his antics, which are obviously calculated just to court public attention. We wish to assure the public that we'll continue to discharge our duties to keep the nation safe and secure at all times. It is signed by Stella Dede Jakpasu, Chief Inspector and Public Affairs, TEMA. So that is the statement there from the police in response to this entire development. Let's now have an interaction with Dr. Edem Bonaa, security analyst and one passionate about these matters, Dr. Adam Bonaa. So he joins us for a conversation. A very good morning to you, sir. Thank you for joining the conversation.
Good morning, Ben, and good morning to your viewers.
Right. I just want to find out from you what your initial reaction is to this entire development. As far as the police says, this is not standard operating procedure, and Oliver Barker-Vormawor was in the wrong. Was he in the wrong, according to what you know about how the police operates?
Yes, he is actually in the wrong. But I must also quickly put it out there that probably this is to also draw the attention of the executive by extension to the plight of those who are in police custody. 99% of those in police custody are not convicted, but some of them end up staying there for some reason. Some of them don't have families around. Some of them don't have anyone to feed them. But unlike those who have been convicted and, have transitioned from police custody to prison custody, whether the food is good or not, there is some provision made for them to be fed, during the day, whether once or twice or three times a day. They are fed in a way. But you go to our police cells, the situation at the cells is very appalling. I think when this IGP took over, he had a reason to complain about, crowdedness at the, cells, police cells and all that. And so some of us are expecting that some changes would come, but it is not the norm for an individual or an organization to go to a police station and donate food to inmates, call them people who are remanded to police custody or people who have just been arrested. These are the two categories of people. Those who have been remanded by court, to be in police custody, or those who have just been arrested and awaiting the 48 hours period to be sent to court or something else. And so I think that Mr. Oliver Barker-Vormawor, I hope I got the name right, probably should have known better that this is not done, looking at, what the regulation is when you talk about those within the police fraternity in terms of their cell system. This is not done anywhere.
But he mentions, if I may.
I haven't seen it before. Usually food are usually donated to prisons. And the prisons would usually, either you go there and they will tell you the kind of, because I have gone I have, led some people to donate items to the prisons before. And so you go, they'll tell you what their needs are. And so you take the list and what you can do, you do. But with this, how many people are there at that police station or that police cell that he was going to donate to? Were they raw food or they were cooked food? So these are questions we should be asking. So I would say, apart from drawing attention to the plight of those in police custody, this is not the norm, Ben.
Right. So it isn't the norm, and I agree with you. I have also, led donations to prisons and all that. My first time hearing of this at a police station. But he promises what was done on the back of the fact that he was in there only a few days ago, and that but for visitors, his family members bringing him food, he would have starved. I mean, he had his own hunger stints with hunger strikes and all of that. But he's saying the state that is responsible for feeding them was not necessarily doing so, that they were not getting food, and that a lot of the time, the people don't get food. He even intimates that the police at a point, when he asked, they told him that, oh, those who are in there are used to that. I mean, that shouldn't be the norm either, should it?
Well, it would be difficult to take what he's saying. Yes, when you go to a police station, ordinarily, if you walk to a police station, you would have those in the cells sometimes sticking their heads out and telling you to buy them some food because they're hungry. And I'm sure every police station in this country is faced with that. But mine is that I think Oliver is a lawyer. We have the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice in this country. I think what he can do is to petition CHRAG to ensure that, people who are in police custody, there is a budgetary allocation for them, who is actually checking what is being approved in Parliament. This conversation should not just remain a conversation between the media, Oliver, and, whether it is the norm or not. But when budgetary allocations are being approved, what is the work of the Defense and Interior Committee of Parliament? Do they take that portion of the budget to look at and see at every given 24 hours what is the average number of people within police custody all over the country? There are close to 2,000 police stations in this country. Obviously, almost all of them have some form of cell or the other. How many people averagely do they hold every 24 hours? That should be able to, these records are, with the police. That should be able to tell us, tell the executive or tell Ghanaians that we need to make provision for probably if it is 2 cedis or 3 cedis or 5 cedis per, every individual who is supposed to be arrested and kept at a police station. Today it is maybe Oliver. The next day it could be any of us. Because there's a thin line, between your freedom and, you being incarcerated. And so this conversation shouldn't just remain that way. I would have wished that Oliver would petition the Commission on Human Rights. But be that is may, I would say that it's a very important conversation. Let's not just, sweep it under. Because yes, people who are being held at various police stations, it is difficult to feed them. Family members, imagine, you are from where I am from Issa, from the DBI, Issa, and you'll find yourself in Accra, and maybe you don't know anybody. You end up being, wrongly arrested as, in these police swoops, police conduct swoops. You are arrested, and they distribute them amongst police cells, in some of these big cities. Family members might not know that you have been arrested, and some of these people, unfortunately, are sometimes kept, and you don't have any family member to feed you, so you have to sometimes rely on an inmate or a cellmate whose family are generous enough to bring him more food than he can take or she can take, and you get to eat the surplus. I think that the dignity of those who have been held in police custody must be looked at, because today you are a free man, tomorrow you could be in police custody, and this issue we are discussing, you might need it because you end up somewhere nobody knows you. But there is no budgetary allocation to feed these people. And so mine is that I will urge through your media, the Defense and Interior Committee of Parliament to look at it. Those at, what do you call it, the Ministry of Finance, and the police themselves should begin to look at this aspect of budgetary allocation, because then it is the nation's duty to take care of these persons who unfortunately are in police custody because the law said so. And so mine is that, yes, it is not the norm. Oliver should have known better, but it brings to light that aspect of the conversation where there is no any allocation for these people in our budgetary, approval. I would want anyone to show me if there is a line budget for those who are held in police custody. As for prisons, yes, we know there is some budgetary allocation, but that is also woefully inadequate then.
Right. So we're talking, that is the aspect when it comes to food and drink. And yes, they don't accept these things because you never know what the contents could be. And if someone dies under their watch, it is on them, the Ghana Police Service. But how about the toiletries? There were toiletries as well. And he made it clear that these are toiletries that they may need. How about that? Could the police not have received these items, or are they bordered by the same rules?
No, they are bordered by the same rules. Toiletries could be contaminated. You know what I'm talking about. Anyone who understands security.
You might need to explain further. I get what you're saying. But how do you mean?
That, he might have meant well. But this is not the norm, and I don't expect that police stations should be allowed to start taking in such items. We are aware. If you go into the police's own data, they will tell you that there's been, people in their custody families who come to some of these facilities with hacksaw buried in fufu, with hacksaw buried in banku and all that. And in the night, they cut the cell and they run away. And some persons have been arrested. Some of them have come in there with mobile phones hidden in some of these food items. Mine is that the police might not have the capacity to be able to take some of these, donations. But the prisons, they have the capacity, because you don't just walk into a prison and say, I'm coming to donate. It doesn't work that way. Anyone who knows the way it works. You go in there, they have to even profile you. They need to look at you and see whether yourself, are you fit to donate to inmates within our prisons before they accept. And also, let me also put it out there that even donating to the Ghana Police Service itself, it's not everybody who is qualified to donate to the Ghana Police Service. I have made a lot of donations in the past to the Ghana Police Service. And before they do that, they would have to check and ensure that you have not committed any crime, and ensure that the donations you are bringing, you didn't get the donations out of ill-gotten money or ill-gotten funds.
The police must check all that.
You just walk into a police station.
Dr. Bonaa, the police must check all that. They even check to find out the origin of the funds that were used to make these purchases. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, they check all. Well, not check the origin of the funds, but they need to ensure that you are suitable enough to, you haven't committed any crime. You remember when the MV Benjamin issue happened? There was one of these persons, I will not mention his name. We were told that he was a police contractor. And it's one of the reasons why he was almost left off the hook. So mine is that in order not to complicate the issues and put people in conflict of interest situation, the police go by certain strict laid-down regulation. You want to make a donation, you just don't walk to the police. Or you have to be somebody who they have already checked to ensure that you are suitable to make a donation. Because the donation he was making was not a donation to those in the custody of the police. It's a donation he's making to the Ghana police and telling the Ghana police that, please, because you don't have the resources, I would want this donation to go to people in your custody. And so if anything goes wrong with that donation, it is the IGP to the last police officer who are going to be held responsible. So mine is that he couldn't have just walked to a police station or walked to a prison, a prison headquarters, or maybe in Sound, and say, I'm doing a donation and they take it. It doesn't work that way. So I think, yes, this conversation is open up. This thing has brought up the conversation, but I think that he should have known better, and I would urge him to petition the Commission on Human Rights. And I've already said, I think the Interior Committee, the Defense and Interior Committee should begin to look at, and the police themselves should raise some of this issue, feeding of people in their custody. I know police officers who feed people in their custody with their own salary. I know several of them, because I work with them. Several of them feed.
But why? In fact, that points to a major problem in our system, right? Because they shouldn't be doing that. The state should be taking care of these inmates. So if that is happening, that points to a glaring problem, which also feeds in, like it or not, whether Vormawor did the right thing or not, to what he was pointing at, that a lot of them are not getting fed.
Oh yes, I mean, like I said. It opens up that Pandora's box. It opens up that issue of, what do you call it, how we put some of these people in not so good situation, not dignifying at all, dehumanizing them. And I say that these people are, most of them, 99% of them are not having been convicted. And so what then happens if they are, discharged? They are told to go home, no conviction, nothing. You would have held them, starved them, and the state should. Once the state says you have broken the law, it is up to the state to take care of you. That is why they provide you a place of abode.
Right. Just to wrap on this one, because I quickly want to sneak in that recent incident in Wa. I just want to find out from you. The police have said that this was a stunt, mere antics from Oliver Barker-Vormawor. But how would you rate their response to what happened in some 30 seconds? How do you feel the police fared in dealing with the situation? Well,
I think that the police responded in that manner because of probably the way he went there with brass band and all that. You don't go to do a donation with a brass band. Nobody does that. If not, the police headquarters receives donations every day. You can imagine you go there with brass band. And so I'm not sure what the motive was, whether the motive was to draw attention to what he was going to do or was to tell the police that, this is what I can do. So
but I'm just trying to find out, Dr. Bonaa,
respond that way.
Dr. Bonaa, was the police response apt? I mean, the way they carried themselves out, no, exchanges here and there, they handled the situation. I'm asking, was it apt, the way they responded?
Yeah, I think the police handled it right.
Right.
The public order, I'm sure Oliver knows that he flouted the Public Order Act, and therefore the police could have rounded all of them up and locked them up and taking them to court. But I think with this, I say policing is 99% discretion. They looked at it, maybe they might, take some action, but if they decide not to, well, who am I to say they should? But the truth is that Oliver and his team should know that there is a law that talks about public order. And so whatever they were going to do, they should have informed the police that we are coming with the brass band. Just don't do that.
Right.
Unfortunately, he might have meant well, but he's a lawyer, so he should know better. And therefore, I think the police handled this situation better than some of us would have expected, Ben.
My final bit to you, and if you can do it in less than a minute, I'd be grateful. We're pressed for time. It has to do with the police investigating that shooting incident in Wa, where a retired lecturer at the Dr. Hila Liman Technical University, aged 64, and another worker of the Simon Diedong Dombo University of Business and Integrated Development Studies, aged 46, lost their lives. A lot of these incidents that we've been hearing in recent times, how hopeful are you that the police will get to the bottom of this matter?
Well, I am very hopeful this time around the police will get to the bottom of this matter because the IGP, I am told swiftly, has spoken to the families in the region. And when the incident broke, I spoke to a reporter, Rafiq Salam, to know, what has happened. So he gave me a breakdown of what has happened. And the suspect was arrested immediately. And I'm told he's been processed for court. Or I don't know whether he's been remanded already.
Right.
But I do believe that knowing who the IGP is, once he steps in, it will be difficult for anyone who doesn't want to do his work well to do it. But the regional commander in the Upper West, in the Kugri, I know him, because Upper West, that's my home region. I have dealt with almost all the officers there. I have no doubt that the regional commander will ensure that the law takes its course so that others can learn. But you see, this brings to mind the kind of people who have access to firearms under the cloak of have a licensed firearm. Most of them are not mentally sane because then how do you shoot? And we've seen a lot of these incidents. Some happen at Tantra Mile 7, shooting a tenant. So a lot of people have firearms, and I say we have a not so good, firearm law, which has outlived its usefulness. People are acquiring firearms under the cloak of, I feel threatened, I'm scared.
So that must be tackled.
Most of them don't know that firearms can be used for good reasons and can be used for bad reasons. And so for me, I hope that this particular incident, they deal with it as swiftly as possible.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Adam Bonaa, for sharing your thoughts there. Right before we cap off the show, did you know that the income of a young entrepreneur from some selected groupings actually attracts some taxes? 5 years. Any young entrepreneur engaged in manufacturing, information and communications technology, agro-processing, energy production, waste processing, tourism and the creative arts, horticulture and medicinal plants does not need to pay income tax on these activities for their first 5 years of operation. A young entrepreneur engaged in business that enjoys an initial 5-year concession benefits from the following applicable tax rates for an additional 5 years. Accra and Teba 15%, other regional capitals outside the 3 northern regions 12.5%, outside the other regional capitals 10%, and in the 3 northern regions 5%. For further clarity and information, contact your nearest GRA office. Ghana Revenue Authority, integrity, fairness and service. And well, that is how we draw the curtains on this morning's AM show. Don't you forget what we stand for. We are credible, independent and fair. My name is Benjamin Akakwu. Do stay tuned for the rest of our programming.